If Rugrats has taught me anything, it's that babies are capable of far more than their parents think they are. Dad wants us to walk to him. Walk? Are you kidding me? Bitch, we're gonna run across the entire goddamn capital wasteland. The question is, can you beat Fallout 3 as a baby? First things first, how do you even leave Vault 101 as a baby? As far as I know, there are two ways. The first is to use a glitch, the second is to use console commands. We're gonna use console commands in a bit, but we're escaping the real way. The video I watched said to put the ball in the left corner of the doorway, walk against the right corner, and immediately close the door as soon as it opens, while also heading into the next room. If done correctly, you'll have access to the hallway. If not, you'll be faced with a locked door. It took me quite a while, but I did get it. Then there was just the small task of jumping into the loving arms of the Rip in reality itself. Embrace the void, and your next objective will be to escape Vault 101. Luckily, by starting the escape quest before you're supposed to, most of the NPCs aren't spawned. So we don't have to deal with Vault security or Butch's whiny mother. The ride roaches, however, are an issue. Now's the time to talk about console commands, because I said I would be using them. The first thing to understand about playing Fallout 3 as a baby is that you move slowly. So incredibly slowly. I wasn't about to spend 30 hours playing Fallout 3 just to do the main quest as a baby. So I used the set game time multiplier command to speed up the entire game. With no NPCs or enemies around, it appears as though I only increased my movement speed, but that's not the case. Everything speeds up. My movement, enemy movement, the day-night cycle, dialogue, saving, everything. You may consider this cheating, but I do not. Everything in the game happens as it should, it just happens faster. Out of Vault 101, the next stop is Megaton, because Amada never stole her father's 10mm pistol, so I'm left with only a baseball bat and a BB gun. Also, because you need to bring up the dialogue menu before you can use your Pip Boy. Here's another thing I did. I installed a Pip Boy mod, because without it, your Pip Boy glitches through your arm, meaning you can't see anything. Well armed and loaded with stim packs, the journey towards Vault 112 begins. This was not fun, not by any stretch of the imagination. Because I'm so slow, I can't outrun low-level creatures like bloatflies or mole rats. Also, because I'm small, my attacks are borderline worthless. It takes a lot of shots just to bring down a single mole rat. Vicious dogs are even harder. Fighting isn't really an option. The upside to being so small is that by going into third person, I can see a lot of the world around me, so sneaking is a bit easier. Even then, though, I got into fights with the local wildlife. Something else you'll start to notice is the objects flying all over the place. It's a result of the increased game speed. They do a small amount of damage. As the game speeds up, they move even faster and will do more damage in less time. I made it a rule that if they kill an NPC or an enemy, I wouldn't loot their corpse because I didn't kill them. Finally, I got to Smith Casey's garage and made my way inside. The rad roaches weren't much of an issue, but I had forgotten about the mole rats inside. The first two were a bitch and a half. The other two guarding the basement were even worse. Eventually, many minutes later, I defeated them, donned a Vault 112 jumpsuit, and loaded up the simulation. Not having time for nonsense, I immediately activated the failsafe and left. Fuck you, Robert, Betty. The extent of my quest skipping knowledge ends here. I figured that since Dad was heading for Rivet City, I could just follow him, he'd defend his son. And that plan worked for a while. Then he lost the fight, went unconscious, and his body warped away just like every other small moving object in the world when the game speed is too high. Fine, whatever, who needs him? I can get to Rivet City by myself. I met some raiders, killed them, and was finally starting to get some better weapons. The hunting rifle made things so much easier. My plan was to kill some innocent people and rob them so I could get that guy in Megaton to be my companion. Spoiler alert, that didn't really pan out. As I got closer to Rivet City, I discovered this fun thing where because you're so small, your default position in water, that is, how high you float in water, is actually beneath the water, so you drown unless you're constantly jumping. And, with the game speed at 3 times its normal speed, that's a real pain in the ass. Finally, I got inside Rivet City. In an effort to become a questionable individual, I stole weapons from the Rivet City market by dragging them into the corner, out of sight, and then stealing them. Then I spoke to Dad, met up with him and the scientists inside the Jefferson Memorial gift shop. I wiped out the mutants, flipped a switch or something, explored a pipe, and watched Daddy die. The scientists insisted that I escort them to the Citadel, which I did under protest. There, I spoke to Elder Lyons, got the location of Vault 87, and fast traveled back to Little Lamplight. Did I mention that I stopped there on my way to Vault 112? Because I did. The little shit in charge opened up Murder Pass for me. After killing many super mutants, I met up with Fox, who got the Gek for me. Then I got ambushed by the Enclave. Colonel Pumpkin Spice was rude to me. Good thing for me, the President was on my side. I helped some Enclave soldiers who seemed ready to go to hell, took the virus from the President, reunited with my old buddy Fox, returned to the Citadel, got a sweet suit of power armor, and took the final steps towards the point of no return. The showdown between the Brotherhood of Steel and the Enclave has arrived. I thought I looked pretty funny wearing power armor, rifle in hand, running so far behind Liberty Prime that I was less than useless to them in the fight. Even at 1.7 times normal speed, that march to the Jefferson Memorial was still too long. Once inside, the Enclave soldiers seemed to agree that death was a preferable alternative to communism as they ran at me, ready to die. We're in the endgame now. Someone must sacrifice themselves to activate Project Purity. It was my father's legacy. It must be me. My death will mean that everyone in the Capital Wasteland has a chance to begin anew. And I can't reach the buttons. I can reach a few of them, but not the ones in the back. What a shame. Sentinel Lions, this one falls to you. Good luck with the dying and everything. In her last moments, she crawled towards the glass. I stood just outside of reach, sharing the pain with her as I spammed the E button to make those stupid baby noises. And at long last, it is over. I've beaten Fallout 3 as a baby. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, this fucking sucked. I hated it. This run was in no way fun. Being small in and of itself wasn't an issue. It was being so slow. It probably didn't help matters that I did this right after playing New Vegas as a giant, where my speed was much higher than normal. Regardless, Fallout 3 can be beaten as a baby, but I would not, under any circumstances, recommend that you try it. The number of skills and perks in Fallout 3 ensures that no two people will have the exact same playthrough. Those customizable parts of the game allow you to grow stronger as you take on tougher and tougher opponents. But what if you didn't use skills or perks at all? It's important to keep in mind that this is not possible without console commands. Fallout 3 forces you to distribute skill points and pick perks in order to progress the game. What console commands let us do is nullify all skills and perks. After we pick them, we can use the console command to set them back down to 0 and remove any chosen perk. We can also set our special stats to 1 and de-level ourselves after leveling up, which is exactly what I did. And if I'm keeping my skills as low as possible, it wouldn't really make sense to wear any armor or use any chems that boost stats. Nothing we do really has any meaning until we take the GOAT test. I just went through everything as quickly as possible. Then I doctored my test results and picked tag skills that won't matter. After I had my preliminary stats, it was time to start cheating. Unfortunately, we must lower every skill and special stat one at a time. The upside is that it's pretty easy. Open the console window, type player.forceAV, then a skill name and a desired value. I went with 0 for the skills and 1 for the special stats. Special can't go any lower than 1, and I wasn't sure if making my speech skill negative 100,000 would break the game, so I didn't do it. What's interesting is how different the game feels when experience doesn't matter. You're no longer making decisions in an effort to reach the next level so you can become stronger and get new perks. That didn't stop me from murdering 2 Vault Dwellers before Vault Security had a chance to though. Even with my small guns skill at 0, it wasn't too terribly difficult to kill people in the vault. Probably because I was playing on very easy. Remember folks, the goal is to beat the game without skills or perks, not to beat it on the hardest difficulty. It was around this time I discovered how shit my repair skill was. Items had to be damn near useless before I could repair them. Nevertheless, I escaped the vault and leveled up, which meant it was time to weaken myself yet again. My next stop was Megaton because I needed ammo and stim packs. A slight breeze will break my back, and my bullets might as well be cotton balls. On my way out, I killed Lucas Sims because I thought his Chinese assault rifle would be a nice weapon to have early on. I thought about it and decided that it wasn't worth it, as I didn't want to deal with a bunch of hostile NPCs if I wanted to stop by Craterside Supply later on. So I reloaded a save and let him live. Just like I did when I was a baby, I made a beeline straight for Vault 112. I got in a lengthy firefight with some super mutants along the way, but that meant that I finally had a hunting rifle. Moments later, I ran into Crazy Wolfgang and his guard, both of whom I killed because I wanted their assault rifles. With the last shot of 5.56 ammo I had, his caravan guard was defeated. I killed more super mutants, killed some Talon Company hooligans, watched a super mutant blast the fuck out of some cows. It was over for a vicious dog as I had the high ground, and at long last, I arrived at Smith Casey's garage. Remember earlier when I said I wouldn't wear any armor that provided me with any stat boosts? Well, I lied, because you must put on a Vault 112 jumpsuit to enter Tranquility Lane. I wasn't using any healing items, talking to anyone, or attacking anything, so I figured it would be fine if I wore it just to progress the game. The communists descended upon Tranquility Lane and trapped Betty inside forever. I leveled up again, and once again reset my skills to 0, my special stats to 1, and removed the perk I chose. I followed Dad for a while, but it got boring, so I fast traveled to Megaton to get to Rivet City. Inside the Rivet City market, I stole some guns, sold some guns, bought some ammo, talked to Dad, bought a lever-action rifle, and murdered every last super mutant inside the Jefferson Memorial gift shop. Words were spoken, doors were opened, stairs were used, buttons were pushed, vertibirds were safely landed, parents were killed, bitches were annoying, silver boys were shot, and a big-ass metal door at the Citadel opened for yours truly. A terminal provided me with information about Vault 87, a scribe gave me the location, and I was off on another adventure. You want to know the fun part about this run? Every speech skill check has a 0% chance of succeeding. Know what that means? McCready wouldn't let me inside the lamplight. So I had to lug my ass all the way across the world and solve the problem at Paradise Falls. I couldn't remember exactly how that quest plays out, so I killed them all. It wasn't long before I found myself in a sticky situation. Behind enemy lines, a minigun ready to mow me down if I stepped out from behind cover, and I was all out of stim packs. I did what all brave men do when faced with an insurmountable challenge. I ran away, back to Megaton where Lucas Sims was still alive. I regained my composure, bought more stim packs and ammo, and killed everyone else at Paradise Falls. Finally, I could get inside Little Lamplight, and, more importantly, Vault 87, where I could free Fox with the use of a stealth boy and eventually get ambushed by the Enclave. Once inside Raven Rock, I snuck past the Enclave soldier who asks you questions as soon as you leave your cage. President Eden pulled the old switcheroo on me and let loose his Enclave dogs to tear me to pieces. Most of them died. Some of them I just ignored. The big computer man told me to install a virus, and because I'm too stupid to make up my own mind, I agreed. After escaping, Fox agreed to follow me into battle. We traveled together for ages. It must have been 5, maybe 10 seconds. Then I told him to piss off and fast traveled back to the Citadel. I leveled up again, was gifted some power armor, and got a neat new perk that allowed me to wear said power armor. For the last time, I set my skills to 0 and removed the perk. No power armor for this guy. I'm getting real tired of saying this, but I'll say it anyway. Once again, the final battle has arrived. Brotherhood of Steel versus the Enclave. Did you know that it takes about 9 minutes for Liberty Prime to go from the Citadel to the Jefferson Memorial? I know because I checked after I stopped recording. It felt more like 9 years than 9 minutes. Anyway, Sarah Lyons and I made our way into the gift shop to clear out the Enclave. She told me to make sure I was ready before the quest began. I didn't, which left me not very well armed against the Enclave. As one would expect, being level 1 with all your stats bottomed out is not good when you're going up against endgame enemies in power armor. It really didn't help that I went into the fight with 2 stim packs, and my head, chest, and both arms being one shot away from being crippled. I tried using the Mesmetron, didn't work. Then a plasma rifle, didn't work. Then a minigun, didn't work. What finally worked was a hunting rifle and closing the doors. Then it was time to end Colonel Autumn, and that's fucked me. One shot from my sawed-off will kill him, it says. Take the shot, it says. I took the shot. You know what happened? Bubkiss. After being nearly killed by his minigun, I finally killed him. Then I inserted my vial into the slot, entered the secret code, and successfully beat Fallout 3 with no skills or perks. This was a surprisingly fun playthrough, even on very easy. It was challenging at times, especially towards the end game. I mentioned it earlier, but it really does change the game when experience points become irrelevant. Killing enemies is no longer about getting XP to level up to get more powerful. It's just about finishing the quest to move on with the game. One of the most important parts of Fallout 3 is managing your health. Making sure you have enough stim packs to survive the next group of raiders you stumble across. But what if you didn't have any health? What if any damage at all killed you? Can you beat Fallout 3 without taking any damage? Let's get something out of the way real quick. I did use a console command for this playthrough, but I did it for a reason. You can keep track of your health and manually reload old saves if you get hit. I didn't want to do that, so I used a console command to set my health to 1, a single hit point, so that any damage at all will kill me and automatically reload my most recent save. The end result is the same, it just makes this less of a hassle to deal with. Now, onto the playthrough. Because we can't take any damage, strength and endurance are dump stats. Perception and intelligence are vital. Perception, so that I can see enemies from the maximum possible distance, and intelligence, to ensure that I get as many skill points as possible when leveling up. I also drained luck, maxed out agility, and put the remaining points into charisma. From there, I have a birthday party, go to class, and assign skill points. I went with sneak, small guns, and speech. Small guns might seem like the odd category out, as getting into a firefight is a variable death sentence. I'm playing on very easy, and with a sneak bonus, I have a chance at taking out enemies before they know I'm there. Before we go any further, here's a shot of my Pip Boy showing that my health is at 1 of 1. It'll be like this throughout the rest of the playthrough. I decided to be a real prick in this run, so I killed Butch's mom, left the rad roaches to devour her corpse, killed Butch, killed Tom and Mary Holden, killed Officer Richards and Officer O'Brien, killed Security Chief Hannon, killed Officer Mack, killed the Overseer, killed Officer Park and Officer Wolf, and finally left the vault. After arriving at Megaton, I sold what I could to Crazy Wolfgang, then killed him and took my stuff back. Killed Mickey, beat Deputy Weld to death, though not before he killed me first, and entered Megaton. My initial goal was simple: get negative karma, and, by any means necessary, accumulate 1,000 caps so that I could get Jericho as a companion. You may be thinking that killing Moira would be a good source of caps, and you're right, but I've got some plans for her. By that point, I was about 650 caps short of acquiring Jericho, so I did what I always do, head straight for Vault 87. Along the way, I once again proved that if you have the higher ground, your enemies don't stand a chance. Fun fact, turrets explode when they're destroyed, and that can be dangerous. Beneath the town I found lied an encampment of raiders, all of whom were killed and looted. You're probably thinking, wow, this run seems easy so far, and you'd be correct. With the assault rifle I got from Wolfgang, raiders can be killed before they even have a chance to aim. But things are about to get worse. Back above ground were more raiders. These raiders have guns, and they know how to use them. I spent 15 minutes trying to kill them all, and I died so many goddamn times. It's not even funny. After that ordeal was over with, I finally had enough stuff to sell to get up to 1,000 caps. Before meeting Jericho, I struck a deal with Mr. Burke. I convinced Jericho to join me, and it was time for more good old-fashioned violence. I tried to rig the bomb to explode, but you need your explosive skill to be at 25, and mine wasn't. Back to it, Defender Rockwell was the next to die. I robbed his corpse, gave his armor to Jericho, and felt rather confident. So much so that we broke into Fort Independence and massacred everyone inside. That was a lie. What actually happened was that I died a lot for the second time. The reward wasn't worth it, so we continued our journey southwest, leaving Fort Independence for another day. It was time to take our relationship to the next level, and nothing builds a relationship like killing everyone inside a raider outpost, and then dying over and over again while trying to take out a few Yao Guai. Evil won the day, and then a shocking twist I never saw coming. We hit the edge of the world. The upside was that Tenpenny Tower was within walking distance, and after our adventuring in home invasions, I had leveled up enough to get explosives up to 25, and you know what that means. Oh yeah, just beautiful. Truly, Beelzebub would be proud. After wiping the tears from my eyes, we continued on until we arrived at Smith Casey's garage. Chinese invaders won, Dad was rescued, not gonna bore you with all the little details here. I fast traveled back to Fairfax Ruins, where Jericho and I killed our first person together, and began heading east towards Rivet City. We met up with that little shit with the ant problem and killed most of the ants. I left one for the boy. Either he becomes a man, or that ant has a very fun day, if you know what I mean. The ant eats the kid, that's what I was implying, don't get weird with it. I think Karma was trying to tell me something, because as soon as I blew Grandma Sparkle's head off, my game froze. And then it froze a few more times as I raided her shack. A few raiders under a nearby bridge got to be on the receiving end of me playing with my new toy. Then I fell off a bridge, hit a rock, and died. The Jefferson Memorial was my next stop. I figured I'd get ahead a bit by removing the super mutants from the memorial. Nothing special happened here. I did get smashed with a sledgehammer though, that's always fun. With the memorial now safe, I could finally enter Rivet City. I did some shopping in the Rivet City market before reuniting with my father. Then blah blah blah, plot stuff happens, fuses, doors, intercoms happened, sewage of course, can't forget about playing in the sewer system. Dad died, who cares? It was time to escape. Jericho went and got himself killed. So of course I had to go all suicidal maniac with a rocket launcher on the Enclave who killed him. Reloading a save would not be dramatic enough. It actually took a few attempts to kill the Enclave and keep Jericho from dying. I could have went a few saves back, but that's lame. And then it happened again. Jericho got himself in a sticky situation. This time around, I took Suicidal Maniac with a rocket launcher to a whole new level. At long last, we made it to the Citadel, and by we all, I mean myself, Jericho, and Dr. Lee. The other scientists were unfortunately caught in the line of fire. Their sacrifices will never be forgotten. Rothschild gave us the location of Vault 87, and we were off on another adventure. Someone got sloppy and let their slaves loose. Luckily for them, Jericho and I were on the scene to clean up their mess. Inside the spooky tunnel of doom and terror, or whatever that little shit in Lamplight called it, I got lost, even though I've done this a million times already. Eventually, I got my bearings and made it to Vault 87. This was about as challenging as you'd expect. Dealing with one super mutant in a confined space can be tricky. Dealing with two or more is a test of your abilities. After talking to Fox, I resorted to dropping a bunch of mines outside a door, opening the door, and running the F word away. It worked pretty well, actually. Plot twist, the Enclave ambushed us. Bet you didn't see that coming. I spoke to Presidential President Eden and convinced him to kill himself and everyone inside Raven Rock. I'm evil, remember? Then I stopped by the Megaton ruins to pick up Jericho before preparing for what's to come. That's right, it's finally time to return to Vault 101 and kill everyone inside. One by one, they met their fate at my hands. Turns out, killing all the Vault Dwellers in Vault 101 is not a way to complete the American Dream quest. What a bummer that was. Oh well, what's done is done. It's not like I could go back in time and do things differently. The fun part's over. It's time for war. I opted out of getting power armor because I only have one hit point. Armor doesn't matter, and because I'm being a dick to everyone every chance I get. As I stood before Liberty Prime, in all of his glory, I thought to myself, surely this thing can die. Well, he can't. This is sped up footage of me trying to kill him. I made the mistake of stepping in front of him and got fucking annihilated. That long ass waddle towards the Jefferson Memorial went by about as slowly as you'd expect. With some strategically placed and in no way just dumb luck missile shots, Colonel Autumn and his merry men were defeated. I had planned on sacrificing myself the entire time, But before I died, I made sure to drop a dozen mines and a grenade at Sentinel Lion's feet to show her and Jericho just how little I care about them. I inserted the FEV virus, pressed a button, and beat Fallout 3 without taking any damage. Well, sort of. In this long and convoluted branching path of saving and dying, if you were to look at the specific path that got me here, I wouldn't have gotten hit once. This has easily been the most fun playthrough I've done so far. There were a few times when it was tough, but it didn't really feel unfairly tough, not like a stupidly absurd challenge. It's not like you're moving super slowly or can't access your inventory. If you put some thought into what you do, you can pretty easily get through the game. As you may have guessed, this game is more similar to Fallout New Vegas than Fallout 4. And unlike Fallout 4, we can't really just not get the Pip Boy. But what if we could? Can you beat Fallout 3 without a Pip Boy? Despite what I said mere seconds ago, you can technically escape Vault 101 without a Pip Boy. I've done it. It involves exploiting a glitch as a baby, but then you're stuck as a baby throughout the rest of the game. I don't feel like doing that again, so I'm going to remove it with console commands like I did in Fallout New Vegas. Without a Pip Boy, we can't use guns or stim packs, which makes strength and endurance incredibly important. The same goes for barter, speech, and unarmed. After Amada woke me up, I discovered a problem. There was this spiky thing in my left hand. Even after re-entering the command to remove the Pip Boy, it wouldn't go away. I had forgotten to remove a mod I had installed earlier. Luckily, I didn't need to restart the run to fix it. I just had to deactivate the mod. Now we can begin the game proper. I killed Officer Kendall, a few rad roaches, the Overseer, and even knocked out Amada before leaving the vault. I got about halfway to Megaton before I decided against going there. Nothing in the town would help me in any way, so I was off to Smith Casey's garage to rescue Pappy. Some raiders ambushed me while I was in a church. I was able to kill one of them before everything exploded. All of my potential friends are now dead. But there was a bed in the building, which was awfully convenient as my left leg and left arm were both broken. As I made my way to Casey's garage, I stumbled into a raider camp. I killed most of them before trying to unleash the super mutant behemoth they had captured. It was not possible. With my heart broken, I continued onward. And then I, fell through the world. Quite strange. Part of the world didn't load properly. I had no idea what the hell caused it, but I wasn't gonna stick around to find out. Here we are, Smith Casey's garage. I ignored the beavers inside and entered Vault 112. To enter Tranquility Lane, you must sit in a Tranquility Lounger. And to sit in a Tranquility Lounger, you must be wearing a Vault 112 jumpsuit. Without a Pip Boy, you can't equip the jumpsuit. I tried several things. Maybe one of the terminals will let me do something. Nope. Maybe if I kill the Robo-Brains, I could sit in the Lounger. No, there are no workarounds. You cannot proceed without a Pip Boy. The run was almost over. But I decided to try one last thing. Something I've been hoping to never need to use. Cheese. In my moment of doubt, I turned to God for the answers, who then told me to look up a Fallout 3 speedrunning guide. This is it, the final strategy. I went to Little Lamplight, made a backup save, and let the exploits begin. If you hold back and right as you enter Little Lamplight, turn your camera a bit to the right, then quick save and quick load as soon as the new area loads, you can clip yourself through the wall. You'll fall through the map. Needing somewhere to put you, the game places you inside Little Lamplight. Jump and move to the right to get stuck in the wall. Now quick save and quick load repeatedly, again, to clip through the wall. Now you're in the water and can swim jump to Vault 87's entrance. For some reason, I wasn't able to attack anything in the vault. When I clicked the left mouse button, my fists would not come up. Annoying, but it's not like I would win a fight against a super mutant anyway. I ran like hell through the hallway of doom and freed Fox. He got me the Gek. The Enclave ambushed me, and the President let me go. I decided to leave all my possessions in the locker. I couldn't equip anything. None of it would do me any good anyway. After convincing Eden to destroy Raven Rock, I left and began the long walk towards the Citadel. I arrived and, oh, the big metal doors closed. That's no good. If you thought I cheated when I entered Little Lamplight, boy, do I have some good news for you. The Jefferson Memorial is only a hop, skip, and a jump away. I have no idea if it's supposed to be able to happen, but I pretty easily bypassed the big blue wall of energy. Inside the Jefferson Memorial, I sprinted past all the Enclave soldiers and entered the Rotunda. After installing the FEV virus, I used the same quick save and quick load exploit I used earlier and got inside Project Purity. You can't activate the buttons because there's no power. However, if you talk to Colonel Autumn, you can enter the code. I guess the game assumes that you can't talk to Autumn in the Rotunda unless the quest to restore power has already been completed. I entered 216, hit the enter button, and beat Fallout 3 without a Pip Boy. I know what you're thinking. You used console commands and clipped through the walls. You cheated. This run doesn't count. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you. The wall clipping is part of the game. I wouldn't call that cheating. And regarding the use of console commands, like I said, you can escape the vault as a baby. Everything I did can be done without console commands. I just didn't feel like doing it. The first weapon you get in Fallout 3 is the BB gun, and very quickly you discover how useless it is. Even a rad roach, the weakest and most pathetic of all the enemies in Fallout 3, may take 2 or more shots to kill. Early on, most people rely on the 10mm pistol Amada gives you when you wake up. But what if all you had was that BB gun? Can you beat Fallout 3 with only a BB gun? Every mother knows that your skills in Fallout 3 are affected by the points you put into your special stats. Because we'll be relying on the worst weapon at our disposal, agility is the primary stat to focus on. For skills, we go with small guns obviously, medicine, and speech. I got the 10mm pistol from Amada so I could sell it later, then picked up my BB gun and BBs from the table, and my adventure begins. Out into the wasteland, my first stop was Megaton to sell all the weapons and armor I didn't need and to buy every stim pack I could find. After all, with such a shit gun, I'm gonna be taking a lot of damage. Unfortunately, Moira doesn't sell BBs. She doesn't yet understand how much she just fucked up. In an attempt to make her pay for her misdeeds, I spent a considerable amount of time trying to kill her. I was hoping I'd be able to kill her with a single shot, but even when hidden, it's just not possible. At least not at my level. I left and was on my way to Smith Casey's garage. Because I only had 41 BBs, I avoided as many enemies as I could. Then I foolishly fought a bloatfly and was down to 32 BBs. I couldn't remember exactly where the garage was located, but Tenpenny Tower loomed over the horizon, so I stopped in for a visit. I bought a few more stim packs, I passed a few skill checks, I had a talk with Alistair Tenpenny while he aimed a sniper rifle at my goddamn chest, and I knew what I had to do next. Unfortunately, I did not have the explosive skill required. I needed to level up, and what better way to do that than by killing the ghouls pestering the Tenpenny residents. That did not go very well. No, it did not go very well at all. Rather than wasting all 26 of my remaining BBs, I ran for my life and got out of there. I still had not yet leveled up again, so I decided to just carry on with the main quest. By this point, Dr. Braun is more of a nuisance than an actual challenge. As is tradition, I leave him trapped in Tranquility Lane forever, not even stopping to say hello to the man before leaving. Dad was finally freed and explained the plan, Rivet City. But that's really far away and Moira Brown isn't even dead yet. See you, Dad, I've got a bitch to kill. I had finally leveled up again and was able to raise my explosive skill up to 25 and attach a bomb to Old Nuki in Megaton. Then I returned to Tenpenny Tower to let Burke know that the show was ready to begin. I hit the switch, watched the explosion, got paid, hit the BB motherlode with Chief Gustavo, and realized that my work had not yet been finished. Moira isn't dead yet. The fear in her eyes when I told her she was going to die was palpable. You could almost taste it. Party's over, kids. Now we march towards Rivet City. After I told Aunt Boy to piss off and die, I once again encountered the curse of Grandma Sparkle. I killed her, looted her shack, and my game crashed. The next time around, I ransacked her ass and then killed her. Was I talking about her shack or her old wrinkled flapjacks? You be the judge. I picked off a few raiders from a distance, discovered the Citadel, then the Jefferson Memorial, and finally arrived at Rivet City, a place known throughout the entire wasteland as the premier source of BBs. This Shrapnel character had 200 BBs on him. What a weirdo. Who just carries around 200 BBs? After speaking to Daddy, I took my 300 BBs and was off to clear out the Jefferson Memorial. And oh boy, what a shit show this was. If you happen to get lucky with your shots, it might only take you 15 shots to kill a super mutant. What I could do is cut together a tasteful montage paired with some sort of royalty-free Fortunate Son type song. I'm not gonna do that. Instead, I'm gonna let you see the entire fight between myself and a super mutant. I had to clear out all the super mutants, so this happened a lot. I saved the sexiest, most attractive super mutant for last, the super mutant brute in the rotunda. I started the fight with 169 BBs, and when the mutant's body hit the floor, I was down to 139. Something I had not yet considered was weapon condition, because, let's be honest, who the fuck ever in the history of Fallout 3 used a BB gun enough to the point that it almost breaks? There were a few more mutants outside, but Father and some scientists had arrived, so I left them to deal with the mutant. I got the basement stuff taken care of and returned to watch Poppy die, and then something magical happened. I foolishly assumed that Dr. Madison Lee was not an idiot. She's a scientist. Scientists can't be stupid. That's one of the commandments. It's right after the one about not yelling at llamas. Madison Lee is an idiot, though. As the Enclave raided the Jefferson Memorial, I fled straight for the escape tunnel. I thought Maddie would be right behind me. She was not. She was too busy being unconscious upstairs, which meant I had to kill several Enclave soldiers with the BB gun. Not easy or fun. We eventually made it to the Citadel, where the quartermaster was rude to me when I asked about BBs. Rothschild wasn't as rude, seeing as he gave me the location of Vault 87. When I got in Vault 87, after the disaster that was the Jefferson Memorial, I decided to just avoid all the super mutants. Well, not really avoid, more like just ignore. My boy Fox was more than enough to handle those slimy bitches. And then Fox died. Which meant it would be up to me to get the Gek. Luckily, believe it or not, I had planned for this by buying a radiation suit. The bad news was that I only had a few doses of Rad-X and ran away. Things got real hairy real quick, but I did retrieve the Gek. All that was left was to run past a dozen super mutants with rifles and into the loving arms of the Enclave. My strategy of ignoring all enemies worked out much better at Raven Rock than it did in Vault 87 or with those ghouls. Back at the Citadel, the quartermaster still didn't have any BBs, but it didn't matter. We've got a giant robot. The 15 minutes of madness were, as expected, maddening. Not challenging, just boring. Especially when Liberty Prime decides to stand there and do nothing. Inside the memorial, I avoided the Enclave real good and entered the rotunda. Sentinel Lions decided not to join me, so I had to kill Colonel Autumn and 2 Enclave soldiers by myself, with a BB gun. Autumn was surprisingly easy to kill. The power armor-clad soldiers were not. By the time I was the only one left alive, I had used every healing item at my disposal. We're not out of the woods yet, though. See, Sentinel Lions was too busy giving handjobs to the enemy to come and help me. Madison Lee won't alert you about the radiation if Lions isn't there, and the doors are locked behind you, so I couldn't go out there and get her. I was fucked. That is, until I restarted the game. Lions had arrived, and we could finally end this goddamn nightmare. There's just one last little detail. I was practically glowing with radiation after Vault 87. I wouldn't last 3 seconds in the chamber. I nearly killed over inserting the virus into the purifier. So, like the true hero I am, I sacrificed Sentinel Lions, dooming her to a painful death from acute radiation syndrome. My only wish was that Moira was there with me, so I could send her in there instead. There are a number of ways to play through Fallout 3. You can use big guns like the minigun or flamer. You can stick to handguns. You can keep things up close and personal by using melee weapons. But what if you didn't want to use any weapons? Can you beat Fallout 3 without attacking anything? Because we aren't attacking anything, strength, perception, and charisma are all worthless here. High endurance gives us more hit points, high intelligence gives us more skill points when we level up, luck at 10 provides a +5 to all skills, and agility increases our sneak skill, which can be useful later on. After assigning special points, it was time for a completely normal birthday party. There was absolutely nothing strange about it at all. Then it's down to the reactor level, where we're given a BB gun and we have to kill a rad roach. Well, that's a shame. My first thought was that maybe there's a dialogue option to skip the rad roach. Maybe you can tell Dad that you don't want to kill anything. No, that's not an option. Alright, well, maybe if you wait long enough, he'll take the BB gun and will kill the rad roach himself. So I started manipulating time. At one point, over 100 in-game hours were passing every second. Unfortunately, God doesn't like it when you play with time, and the game crashed. There's only one option that will work, and it's something I'm not particularly fond of doing, but it's nerf or nothing, so here we go. What we have to do is use an exploit to clip through the wall. What you do is get yourself in a corner, or up against any wall really, then rapidly quick save and quick load until you clip through the wall. I tried several different places, but the one that worked for me was the space between the stairs and the reactor room. Once you clip through the wall, the game places you in the lower level of Vault 101, and because you can only be there if your objective is to escape the vault, you've now skipped the rad roach and can proceed as usual, just as a 10-year-old instead of a 19-year-old. For some reason, doing this skip means that the Vault 101 guards don't spawn, so escaping the vault isn't too difficult. Just open the Overseer's tunnel and... what? Children cannot use that. Alright, well, all hope isn't gone yet. We just have to do the wall glitch again. In doing that took me about 15 minutes. 15 agonizing minutes. I found that the door to the Vault 101 atrium works the best. As soon as you enter that space, back up into the door and let the spam fest begin. When you clip through the wall, you'll be placed at the door to the Capital Wasteland, where we can finally choose our tag skills. These were probably pretty obvious: medicine, speech, and sneak. Out into the wasteland, I leveled up, dumped more points into tag skills, and picked Pacifist as my first perk, because combat skills like melee weapons and big guns are worthless. After arriving in Megaton, I spoke to Colin Moriarty about my father, bought some stim packs from Gob, received an interesting offer from Mr. Burke, then immediately ratted him out to Lucas Sims. Mayor Sims ran off and confronted Mr. Burke, and Burke killed him. I looted the corpse and made a horrifying discovery. It seems as though Burke is less than thrilled about me being a snitch, because he's coming after me. I hoped, that leaving Megaton would stop him, but it did not. With Burke hot on my trail, I had no time to waste. I made a beeline straight for Smith Casey's garage to rescue Dad. But, guess what? In order to get into Vault 112, you have to press a switch, and children cannot use that. Fuck, again. I had to go back to our old friend, the wall glitch. Oh, you're probably wondering what happened to the mole rats inside. Turns out that they can kill themselves by running into trash cans. Who knew? I was inside Smith Casey's garage for another solid 15 minutes, trying to clip through the wall in a variety of places. It didn't work once. But that's okay, we can just go straight to Little Lamplight and retrieve the Gek. Not a big deal. Nothing interesting happened on the way to Little Lamplight. As you probably could have guessed, I avoided all enemies I found by sneaking past them or running in the opposite direction. The wall glitch in Little Lamplight is much easier than the others, and within a minute or two, I was swimming through the nothing on my way to Murder Pass. The shitty part about Murder Pass, and the entire Little Lamplight area as a whole, is that I can't use my Pip Boy down there. Luckily, I had hotkeyed some stim packs, so I could use them without my Pip Boy. The run through Vault 87 was about what I expected. Run past the super mutants, close the doors behind me to slow them down, all relatively normal compared to what's happened so far. Fox wasn't interested in chatting, but that's okay. He'll help you get the Gek if you set him free, regardless of whether he asks for your help or not. You just have to go down the hallway and, you know, this children cannot use that thing is really starting to get old. Alright, fine, I'll get the fucking Gek myself. I don't have a radiation suit, I don't have any Rad-X or Radaway either, but I couldn't use them even if I did. I cannot possibly understate what a gigantic pain in my ass this was. Dealing with the radiation is bad enough. But to make matters worse, there were super mutants shooting at me the entire time because I couldn't kill them, so they just followed me in there. I figured a few things out after a couple dozen attempts. The first thing is that when you go to grab the Gek, move to the right a little bit and you'll get slightly less radiation. The second thing is that you shouldn't wear armor. It'll just slow you down. You can also stand in the doorway and you won't get any radiation. I did, after a lot of trial and error, manage to get the Gek and not die from radiation poisoning. As I made my way out, I wasn't captured by the Enclave, and I wasn't sure why. In retrospect, that should have been my first clue that things were about to go horribly wrong. Nevertheless, I pushed onward until I was out of Murder Pass. And then this happened.
You've made a grievous error in judgment. Watch your back.
I have no idea how the fuck Burke got in there because the gate to Murder Pass was still closed. After the super mutants who had been following me killed Burke, I had another problem to deal with, getting past the closed gate. You know what's coming. More wall glitching. This time it was made even harder by the super mutants attacking me. Because of course it had to be harder. After several millennia of spamming quick save and quick load, I clipped through the wall and made my escape. At this point, I wasn't too sure what to do next. The Enclave didn't capture me, so I couldn't escape their base. I figured I might as well just throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks. The first thing I did was see a doctor in Megaton to heal my radiation. Then I made my way to the Citadel. The guards wouldn't open the gate for me, sons of bitches. You know what? That's fine. I'll just make them let me in. I went back to Vault 87, ran past all the super mutants, went back to where I retrieved the Gek, then began my escape again. And finally, something worked out in my favor. The Enclave captured me. Good, I can actually beat the game now. All I have to do now is ignore the Enclave soldiers that are shooting at me, talk to the president, grab the virus, and I'm home free. Yeah, no. Guess who's back? Our old buddy. Children cannot use that. I want to make it known that I stopped having fun a long time ago. I tried to glitch myself through the door. I wasn't sure what it would accomplish, but I tried it anyway. It didn't work, obviously. Why would it? So, it was time for Plan X. I'll just go to Project Purity and activate the bitch myself. Again, no. What are you, an idiot? Everyone knows children cannot use buttons. Okay, fine. I didn't want to do this, but I was left no choice. I'll just brute force my way into the Citadel. There's a path through some rocks and rubble that you can glitch through to get below the Citadel. Then you just enter the Citadel from within the Citadel. Easy peasy. It only took me 20 minutes, and I only thought about killing myself a few times. Inside, I thought I could talk to Elder Lions, or anyone really, to advance the game. But alas, I could not. Either I had broken the game, or it had broken me. Either way, I can't beat Fallout 3 without attacking anything. Not this way. Well, I mean, there is one option left. See, I didn't have those button problems when I beat Fallout 3 as a baby. So, I guess that means we're going back to square one. I was born, changed nothing about my character from the defaults, including the name, and crawled to Dad. Then the game soft-locked itself or something because I couldn't move and Dad wouldn't talk. Off to a fantastic start. I reloaded a save and we're back in business. Special, this time around, is almost the same. Almost. Not for any reason other than the fact that I forgot what it was the last time around. The next step is to do what I did in my first baby playthrough, which is close the door as soon as it opens, and if done correctly, the next door will remain open and you'll have access to the hallway. Jump into the loving arms of the void, and your next objective will be to escape Vault 101. Those of you who were unhappy about me using console commands to speed up the game in my first Fallout 3 baby playthrough will probably enjoy my suffering in this run, because I'm not doing that this time. I play the game as a baby, at normal speed. I opened the Overseer's tunnel and met my old foe, the button. With bated breath, I pressed the E key, and the button activated. Out of the vault, I went to Megaton to speak to Lucas Sims. For some reason, when playing as a baby, you need to talk to him before you can use your Pip Boy. I slowly ran towards Little Lamplight. I ain't fucking with no simulations. Timmy Nussbaum can stay in Tranquility Lane forever for all I care. On the way to Lamplight, I outran a Mr. Gutsy and nearly got fucked to death by 2 giant rad scorpions. Inside Little Lamplight, the first wall glitch worked easily, but the second proved to be a bit tougher because, as a baby, you can't jump as high as you can as an adult, or even a child, which makes getting into position more challenging, though it's not impossible. Also, for anyone wondering, it took me about 25 minutes to go from Megaton to Little Lamplight. The run through Vault 87 was rough, though not as bad as I expected because the super mutants with melee weapons sometimes missed due to you being so low to the ground. In one of my previous runs, the super mutants followed me and outnumbered Fox to such an extreme degree that they killed him. I didn't want that to happen this time, so I cheesed it. And what I mean by that is that as soon as I entered a new area, like the test labs for instance, I used the same quick save quick load technique I've used throughout this run. For whatever reason, that stopped the super mutants from following me. Then I snuck past the super mutants and centaurs, roaming the rooms and hallways on the way to Fox. I still couldn't speak to him, but I knew I'd be able to use the console to set him free, so I wasn't worried. After I activated aforementioned console, I ran into a room to seek shelter from a centaur that was whipping me with its tentacles. I scummed myself through a toilet, crouched, then waited until the centaur ran back to wherever the fuck it lived. Fox was finally free, and I followed him while he killed all the super mutants in his path. He retrieved the Gek for me. We parted ways. I was captured by the Enclave, President Eden called off his dog, and I leveled up twice. With 2 levels worth of skill points and the pacifist perk, my speech skill was up to 92. I ignored the Enclave soldiers that were lighting my ass up with their fancy laser pointers and reported to the president. I breathed a sigh of relief as I took the modified vial of FEV and made my escape. The last 2 Enclave soldiers proved formidable. One had a fully automatic laser pointer, and the other had a missile launcher, and he seemed to place no value on his own well-being, as he nearly blew off both my legs and my chest. Then he exploded me again right before I left. Nevertheless, I was back out into the wilderness, among the dead trees and the dead grass and the dead Enclave soldiers that had the misfortune of running into a super mutant with a minigun and a thirst for knowledge. Fox and I parted ways again, this time for the last time, and I was off to the Citadel. That was a lie. Remember what I said about Timmy Nussbaum earlier? That too was a lie. Timmy Nussbaum must die, so I decided that the war for the capital wasteland could be put on hold for a bit while I ensure that a child is killed by virtual communists. Inside Smith Casey's garage, I could actually press the button to get inside Vault 112. I spoke to the RoboBrain and did not get a Vault 112 jumpsuit. Instead, it told me that it was not at liberty to chat right now. I never even knew that was a thing it could say. I wasn't sure what to do next. Once I reached the loungers, I got the Scientific Pursuit quest, which made me think that I could return to the RoboBrain to get a jumpsuit, but that didn't work either. Then I thought that there might be more jumpsuits in the equipment room. Unfortunately, you need a science skill of 75 to hack the terminal to get in, and I did not have time for that. So I left, leaving Timmy Nussbaum trapped in Tranquility Lane. He got off easy as far as I'm concerned. After spending almost 20 minutes running in circles in Grey Ditch because I'm stupid, I arrived at the Citadel and... You've gotta be kidding me. The gate is still closed. I wanna die. Alright, okay. There's only one option. You might think that I could just run straight for the Jefferson Memorial and activate Project Purity myself. It worked in my No Pip Boy run, why wouldn't it work here? Let me remind you that I'm a baby. Do you remember what happened in my Fallout 3 baby playthrough? No? Well, here's a reminder. And I can't reach the buttons. I can reach a few of them, but not the ones in the back. This means that I'll have to glitch my way into the Citadel again. To be honest with you, I was more annoyed doing it this time than I was last time. It wasn't really any harder, it just took longer because I'm a fucking midget. Inside the Citadel, I spoke to Sentinel Lyons and got a suit of power armor. Then I followed her and the rest of the gang outside to begin the final assault. Can you guess what happened next? The gate opening is just a formality, you see, because there's an invisible wall. I got lucky and thought of something before I broke out the Drano and started doing shots. Fast travel. When you fast travel to the Citadel, it places you outside the gate, and praise Todd Howard it worked. As you're well aware by now, I detest the part of Fallout 3 where you follow Liberty Prime, but because I moved so slowly, I could push the auto-run key and do other stuff while I waited. Then Sentinel Lyons and I made our way inside the Jefferson Memorial. She's a shitty fighter, which is why I wanted my speech skill as high as possible. I ignored the Enclave soldiers and confronted Augustus Autumn. Even with speech at 100, I leveled up after I spoke to Elder Lyons in the Citadel. You only have a 63% chance of convincing Autumn to leave peacefully. I had to reload a save to successfully pass both speech checks, but I did. Then I sent Sarah Lyons inside the purifier to die, spammed baby noises as she died a painful death, and after wanting to die for the last few hours, beat Fallout 3 without attacking anything.